Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. So today's a big day. Today we will be doing the tier list for Wild Rift Champions Pool. Okay, so as this will be my first ever tier list, bear with me. Hopefully it goes smoothly. Okay, I'll go over quickly on what I think about the heroes in this current meta. Okay, so I think I think these are the champions, but I noticed there is Thresh. Thresh shouldn't be here. Okay. Anyways, let's ignore him. Okay, just keep that in mind. Thresh is still not here. Okay. So first, starting with Ari. Okay, Ari is an amazing mid champion. Okay, as long as you can, uh, like charm the enemy. If you can land the charm, then this is the champion for you. Now the good part is landing the charm is not easy. She has a lot of mobility. She has a lot of dashes. The ult has 3 dashes, and then you can buy the boot enhancement to get a 4th dash. So catching her is very hard, very hard. So in the ranking in the current meta, so I'm actually thinking either the S tier or A tier. But honestly, I don't see her like, for example, like Katrina, which is basically like the meta right now. So I'm going to put Ari. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing them right. Hopefully, I'm going to have trouble with pronouncing them. Anyways, I'm gonna put her for in the A tier, and then once we're done, we will see. Now, Akali. Okay, Akali is broken since the start, since season 0 until now. She's broken, and in competitive tournaments, most of the time she's banned. Now, for Akali, I see her more useful in the Baron lane than the mid lane. I see her being broken in the Baron lane, but I don't see her as strong in the mid lane. So, if we will go for Akali Baron lane, then for sure she's an S tier. And I'm surprised that till now they did not nerf her. Till now. But yeah, if you want to carry a game, go for Akali Baron lane. Go Akali Baron lane. Trust me. During dragon fights, go help your teammate. You will easily get a triple kill. Easily, you will clean up. Basically, Akali is a cleanup. So you don't start the fight, you just come and clean it up. Basically like a Fiora, but Akali is way more effective. Now, let's go for Alistair. Do I need to say anything about Alistair? You will find him everywhere. Everywhere. And a really good Alistair player will carry the game late game. Will carry. And by the way, guys, I saw an Alistair kill a Darius in Baron lane, which is crazy. So in the right hands, Alistair is an S tier support. S tier support. So if you're a support player, I recommend you playing Alistair. He will always be useful. He will always be tanky. Always. Now, moving on to Amumu. Okay. Some people play Amumu Baron lane, although he's not that popular in it. His most favorite role is jungling. So, in the previous patch, I saw Amumu being really broken. Really broken. If he can land, if he can land, he can shut down the whole enemy team. But he needs a good composition. He needs a composition to work. For example, pair Amumu with a Katrina, and you are talking about an S tier jungler. But if Amumu, let's say you're going solo queue, for example, okay, and basically you don't have a team composition, then you're gonna drop him to A tier. Okay. Now, Annie. You see, Annie played a lot in competitive due to her ultimate, which can crowd control perfectly, perfectly. But if you're solo queue, honestly, Annie for me, it's either C or B. Uh, Now she can be played support, but I just don't. But her main role is mid. But I don't see her. I don't see her that strong, to be honest. So we will put her so far C tier. Now we come to Ash. Now I've had a lot of debates. Okay, I've had a lot of debates with Ash. My friends tell me she's really strong. But from what I saw personally, every time I go against an Ash or an Ash in my team, they just don't perform. They just don't perform. Compared to the other AD carries, they don't perform. So, Ash, unfortunately, I'll put her B tier because she's useful. She has a good kit, but she's not that strong. She's not that strong. Now we're going to go to Aurelion Sol. This guy, before his nerf, was an S tier. S tier. He will gank you. He will carry the team. You will get a penta, and you will be like, how did this person get a penta? But the nerf hit him really hard, and we don't see him being played a lot. And honestly, in this patch, I haven't seen him played all, at all. So I'm going to put him B because I still feel he's very useful. Now, Blitzcrank. Okay, so Blitzcrank for me is not an S tier champion, and he will never be an S tier champion. Also, I don't see him an A tier champion because his kit revolves if you can hook. If you can hook and not hook any champion, you need to hook the most squishiest champion. Most of the time, it will be the AD carry. If you can hook that and be consistent with it, then be my guest. But it's very hard, especially when you go against good players where they can position, where they can dodge. Blitzcrank falls really hard, really hard. So I'm going to actually put him in the B tier because he's a bit tanky. Now, for the S tier support, moving with Alistair is Mr. Brom. You will see Brom everywhere. Brom everywhere, especially with his ult. Look, the best crowd control in the game is knockups. Everyone knows this. So any hero that has knockup, and not just for one person, multiple people, then that will be very useful. Very useful. And his shield negates a lot of damage. He will keep the ADC protected at all cost. At all cost, and he will make it out alive. He will not die at all. So he's an S tier support. Now, moving to Camille, Baron lane. Some people play her jungle, but I don't recommend that. Baron lane, you see her in competitive. Her ultimate is one of the biggest secured kills of all ultimates. Once she ults you, she's going to secure the kill because that means there's someone ganking you. She's an S tier. She's an S tier. If played right, she's an S tier. The problem with her, right? You need a good jungler or mid or both where they will gank your lane and you will secure kills and assist, and then you will start roaming. And she's an amazing split pusher. Now she's not really good clearing the minions, okay? She struggles, but clearing turrets, she's amazing, amazing. So we have two Baron laners as tier and two support as tier so far. Moving on to Darius. Now the thing with Darius is, okay, when should you pick Darius? When you notice the enemy team, they don't have a lot of crowd control. Okay, they don't have a lot of CC. That's your biggest indicator. You need to go Darius. And by the way, Darius, you don't need damage. Build him tank, especially if you don't have tank in your team. Now Darius excels really hard if your team has sustainability, okay, has a tank, okay, and the enemy team doesn't have crowd control. Then he's a S tier machine, pentakill machine. But because it's very hard and different scenarios and in the competitive play, I put him in the A tier. He's really strong. He's really strong. And the thing with Darius is, even if he loses the lane, okay, even if he loses the lane, let's say he goes against Fiora and he goes 0-1, he can still come back. His comeback potential is really high, really high. So Darius is A tier Baron laner. He can be played jungle. He's alright. I would put him as C to B jungle rating. Well, I'm going more of a main role, which is Baron lane. He's known for the Baron lane. Now moving on to Draven. Now Draven melts tanks, melts them in all stages, early, mid, late. He melts them. But the thing with Draven is you need a really good support and one of either Alistair or Braum, or else I don't see him being useful. Honestly, don't see him being useful. Now, in the current meta, he's not that super strong. He doesn't stand out like he can carry alone because he depends on the on the ADC. So, and Vayne is actually stronger than him. Her kit is better than him. And if he dies, then Draven becomes really useless. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. Okay. Mundo. Oh, this guy. This guy in Season 0 and Season 1 used to be the most broken stuff, especially if your team doesn't build Grievous Wounds. And even if you guys build it, he would dive you under the turret and kill you. But, in this current meta, he's very weak. Very weak. That instead of him being an S tier champion, he's not even an A tier, he's not even B tier right now. He's a C tier, especially in higher elos. Higher elos. Now, because he's not tanky anymore, and people can just counter him right now with the new items. Now, you want to know an S tier jungler? We're speaking about Evelynn. Evelynn, especially that the wards cannot target her. She literally is broken, guys. She's broken. So if you love jungling, go for Evelynn. She will carry you and you will carry the team. Because I'll tell you something. If you go 5-0 early game, if you're snowballing, nobody will catch you. Nobody. And guess what? She can steal any objective. Any objective. Baron lane. Dragon lane. If you have Evelynn in your team, you don't contest. You just steal. She just alt smite. She gets the objective from over 2000 HP. So you don't need to contest. You don't need to fight over. She just steals it. Now moving on to an S tier ADC, a solo Q ADC. This guy has been broken since season 0. He was the strongest. He was the strongest champion in the game in season 0. In season 0. And we're talking about Israel. The thing is, right now he's super strong. Not as strong, but super strong. And his kit is really good for solo queue. He doesn't need to depend on anybody. Anybody. If you love Dragon Lane, you master him. Master him. Now, we move to Fiora. And by the way, guys, I'm on the leaderboard of Fiora. I reached top 70 with Fiora. So, Fiora, it's a love-hate relationship. If you have sustainability in the team, okay, Fiora will dominate. If your team understands split pushing, you will dominate. The problem with Fiora is, Fiora in team fights, if she's not fed, she's useless. Super useless. Super useless. Now, if she's fed, she's unstoppable. Unstoppable. But most of the matches, it will be skill based matches. Skill based. We're speaking about Darius, especially with the buff of his ultimate, it becomes a skill based. We're talking about Camille, we're talking about Akali. Okay, we're talking about maybe Jarvan. Jarvan gives her trouble early game. Garen gives her a lot of trouble. Olaf, Olaf with an ult gives Fiora a lot of trouble. Yasuo beats Fiora if he can land the ultimate. Okay, but it's very hard to land. It's a lot of mind games. A lot of mind games. Nasus, if stacked, beats Fiora. There's Malphite. There's Tryndamere. So, in the right hands, she's super strong, but many people play her wrong. You need to put the opponent under the turret. The problem with that is if your team is not good, it's very easy for you to get ganked. Very easy. Very easy. So you need to be able to trust your team. So now the thing is, I wouldn't put her S tier because I find that Camille is way more useful. First of all, Camille guarantees the kill. Camille is way more useful in team fights. Okay, she can focus on the ADC and clear him, destroy him. Okay, Camille can engage. Fiora cleans up. That's the difference, guys. That's the difference. Fiora, if she engages the first, she gets destroyed, shut down easily, easily. Her kit, her mobility doesn't allow it to sustain damage. So you need tanks. You need tanks. If everyone's squishy, everyone dies, and you came late to the team fight, then she won't do anything. And that's why I put her in the A tier. Now she can be played mid lane, okay, but you play her if let's say against Yasuo in the mid, okay, and your mid is not a good counter against Yasuo. For example, Ari versus Yasuo. Usually Yasuo beats Ari, okay. So you would switch. You can switch lanes, okay. The problem with Fiora mid lane, right? Fiora needs an open lane, like a long lane for her to open the ult, and mid lane doesn't allow that, and that's why her favorite spot is the Baron lane, and she's very dominant, very dominant. But most of the people, they don't understand split pushing. They want you to team fight always, and Fiora might struggle with that. Now moving on to Fizz. Now, if we're talking about mid lane, okay, I don't want to hear Fizz jungle anywhere else. Mid lane, Katrina is the meta, right? Katrina is the meta. And I think I'm noticing Katarina is not here. So we will act like Thresh is the Katarina. Okay? So Fizz counters Katarina. Fizz counters Katarina. And the really good Fizz player is very scary, and that's why I've seen it. I've seen it, and that's why mid lane Fizz and S tier. S tier. His jump. For example, you go against Yasuo, he cannot ult you. You go against Zed, he cannot ult you. Who else? Who do you want? Whomever, whomever. His jump, and his jump is not the ultimate, by the way. His jump, he will use it. He will spam it. Dodges everything. He becomes immune. Becomes immune. It's like Camille's ult, where she becomes immune. The thing with Fizz is, if he lands the ultimate on you, 50 to 60% of your health is gone. Especially if he's fat. Now to counter that, you buy Zonia. But if you, most of the time I see people not buying Zonia, they don't know how to counter him, especially if you're Katrina. People spam Katrina and stuff, and they get surprised that Fizz shuts her down easily. Easily. Now, let's move on to Garen. Many people underestimate this guy. He's super tanky, his ultimate is super strong, his silence is super strong, his sustainability is so super strong. You will need 3 people to kill him. 3 people late game to kill him. I don't see, and he can take turrets really quickly. Now I don't see him being this S tier Baron laner, but but usually he's in between B tier and A tier. And because he can counter Darius, and he counters Fiora, and he counters Camille too, I'm putting him A tier. Although he's not being played as frequent, but in the right hands he's super strong. Now, Gragas. People play him jungle, people play him Baron lane, people play him mid lane. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of him jungling. Okay. I like him in the mid lane. In the Baron lane he performs. He's super tanky. He's super tanky. But but for me, from what I've seen, I didn't see anyone go crazy with him. For example, like Evelyn, like Amomo. So for me, unfortunately, I'm putting him B tier. He's not a C tier. He's not a C tier. But you need to master his mechanics, and you shouldn't be missing your skill shots, which is very hard to do for him because it's easy to dodge, especially his Q. Because if his Q lands, you need to wait until it matures to do the damage, and then the ultimate. So he's mechanically challenging. He's mechanically challenging, but I don't see him as an A tier or S tier. Now Graves. Graves used to be really strong. Used to be really strong in the jungle. And he used to have some sustain. But unfortunately, in this current patch, I don't see him being played as frequent. I think his play rate has decreased. So I'm putting him C tier. C tier. I honestly think there are better options. I honestly think there are better options out there. Now Jana. Jana, everyone says she's an S tier. Everybody, she's an S tier. S tier support. S tier. Now she's really good if you have a tank. Let's say Malphite in Baron lane, she's an S tier. She's an S tier. But let's say you don't have a tank, Jana becomes an A tier. Okay, support. Now because we have two S tier supports that are very good, I would like to put Jana A tier. I'm actually putting her A tier. She's really good. You just need Malphite or somebody tanky, or Shyvana, Amomo in jungle, somebody tanky. Now, let's speak about Jarvan, because this guy is interesting. Early game, he's one of the strongest champions in the game. Early game. And I'll tell you something funny. He's stronger than Fiora early game, and everyone knows Fiora is really strong if she's not the strongest champion early game. But I'll tell you something. If there is Fiora, play Jarvan early game and harass her. Make her fight you early game, and I'll tell you something. You will win the fight. You are going to win the fight early game. And once Jarvan gets one kill on top of Fiora, Fiora is useless. The thing with Fiora is, Fiora, if she loses the lane, she's done. She's done. Now, most of the people will play Jarvan jungling. He's really good. The problem with him is his damage really goes down the more you go into games. Like 10 minutes and more, he drops really hard, really hard. And that's why I'm putting him an A tier jungler. A tier, he's really good. Now, Jax. Baron lane Jax, jungling Jax. For me, Jax will always be an S tier. And hear me out, hear me out. Not a lot of people play him. I know that. But a late game Jax, a really good player, he will be fed. I tell you something, if you're not 5 people focusing him, he will kill your team. All of them. And he will still have like 80% of his health. I tell you something, you can build him AP or AD. I don't care. He can take the turrets as if it's nothing. He can stun your team. He can dodge the attacks. His kit is literally to perfection. To perfection. Baron lane, jungling is really good. Really good. If you master him. People still didn't master him. People still didn't figure him out. That's why you don't see him a lot. But he's really strong. Really strong. Now, Jin Jin got nerfed, got buffed, nerfed, and so on. But for me, Jin has the perfect kit. He has the mobility. Okay. He has the slowdown. He just the thing with Jin is you need to play super safe. You rock on the Guardian Angel, you rock on the Champion Rune, and play very safe, and you won't die. Jin is literally S tier, and I know there's so many S tier champions. I know that. I know that. But if you consider, okay, S tier from Baron lane, mid lane, ADC, Dragon lane, support, jungling, it's not much. It's not much. But Jin is really good. Jin, Israel, they're really good. Really good. Now, moving on to Jinx. Now, Jinx passive is one of the most broken stuff in the game. Okay, and the crazy thing is, if she gets an assist, it's activated. If she gets a kill, it's activated, and then she will clear the whole team. Now, pair Jinx with a Katarina, and the passive will always be you will be unstoppable. Jinx, Dragon lane, Katrina in the mid lane. In team fights, you will be unstoppable. Unstoppable. But because there is a lot of competition going on and stuff, Jinx, for me, it's B tier, A tier. Her ultimate can steal. Her passive is really strong. Personally, she's way stronger than Ash, so I'll put her A tier. A tier, as we don't have ADC. Yeah, so she's super strong, super strong. Now, moving on to Kaisa. Kaisa has always been the top, always been. Kaisa is super strong, and her ultimate, you can outplay people. You get shield. Her Q does a lot of damage late game. Does a lot of damage. And the way she clears the waves, very easy. Very easy. So, for me personally, Israel, Jin, Kaisa, they're S tier Dragon Laners. S tier. Now moving on to Lee Sin. Lee Sin. If you're really good Lee Sin, he's an S tier jungler. S tier jungler, he will always be in the competitive scene. He will always be there. He's really good at diving. Getting the ADC from the front line. I don't care if your team has tanks. He will just get the ADC, kick him to his team, and your ADC will die. A good Lee Sin is very scary, very scary. And Lee Sin in good hands is an S tier jungler. Now he can be played mid, Baron lane. We still didn't see that in Wild Rift that much. But jungling, he's insane, insane. As long as you don't miss, as long as you play him right. I still see Evelyn more stronger than him, but he's really strong, and it would be unfair if I don't put him as team. Now, moving on to Lux. Lux, she's squishy. She has the rooting. It's rooting, not stun, yeah? Rooting. She has the slow. She has the ult that cannot be blocked. So that makes her B tier. I'm not going to put her A tier. I don't see her in A tier yet. But B tier, she's really good. Really good. Okay, moving on. Malphite. Malphite ult is a game changer. But other than that, she's not that useful, to be honest. It's not that useful. So, because of that, because there's only one ultimate, although it's a game changer, I'm going to put him A tier. Now he's played support, but I prefer him to be Baron laner, to be honest. Baron lane. You need support. No, no. He's good support, but if you're gonna pick between Alistair Brom or Malphite, Malphite would be the last pick. The last pick. So Malphite, I'll put him A tier just because of his ultimate. It's a game changer if he lands on 5 people. game changer. And an AP Malphite is really scary, really scary. So if you play him tank build, try out an AP build and watch the fireworks. Now moving on to Master Yi. Master Yi in high elo is useless. Useless. You will get CC'd. If there is a team or Master Yi becomes useless. Look, once you reach the high elo, it becomes crowd control. And Master Yi doesn't add anything. Now, if there's no crowd control, he's really strong, but there will always be crowd control. He's really strong in low elos. If you want to get carry your teammates, go for him. But I'm speaking Emerald, maybe Platinum to Diamond for sure and above. Master Yi, you won't see him. Misfortune. Misfortune with a good composition, knockups, stuns, root. Her ult is really strong. Now she's not as strong as Israel, for example, or Jin or Kaisa, but she's an 8 tier. You see her a lot, being played a lot in competitive because of the composition. The composition is really good, but most of us we won't be able to play 5-man team. Even the queue times in some regions we struggle finding games, so most of the time duos or solo queue. So I'll put her 8 tier because she's very useful in team fights. Now Nami, I love Nami. If you can, I'll put her B tier. She's not an A tier, but B tier. If you can land the Q, okay, which are knock up, and if you ult perfectly, she's a game changer too. She's a game changer too. If you knock up the ADC, the ADC is dead. Basically, basically, everyone's going to focus that. They will see an ADC flying on the air, like what's going on. They will focus him or her. But I don't see her an 80. I don't see her an 80. Now Nasus. Nasus, if stacked, he's unstoppable. Unstoppable. But he can be countered really easily. In competitive, you won't see him because they won't let him stack. And if you don't let Nasus stack, he's a C tier. But because I know some people might struggle with him, some people might not be able to freeze lane with him, some people might get ganked, which allows Nasus to stack up. And my advice is if you're laning against Nasus and there's an Inferno first dragon, you don't go Inferno. You stick with Nasus. Because I'll tell you something, if you lose Inferno, you will go back to the lane, Nasus is already stacked, you will lose the lane. You will lose the lane, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, you cannot leave the lane versus Nasus. You cannot. You just cannot. So because of that threat, I'll put Nasus in the B tier. Now Olaf. Olaf used to be an S tier. Jungler, Baron lane. He's unstoppable. But he's not as strong as before. But because of his ultimate neglects all crowd control, he's an A tier for sure. For sure. Now, let's see. We only have one mid champion that's S tier, and the second one is coming up right now. And here we are, Orianna. Orianna will always be there. Orianna late game. Now, to beat Orianna, you need to finish the game ASAP. You need to finish it early because Orianna early game she's useless. The more the game scales, her damage, her harassing your team. She harasses the team. One combo of her will remove all your health. All your health. She's an S tier champion mid lane. Mid lane. Now, Shyvana. Shyvana is in no means is an S tier jungler, okay? Because she depends on dragons. If you can get dragons, she's really good. If you cannot get dragons, she's really bad. Now in competitive, she's good, but because it's too risky, right? It's too risky. You don't see her played a lot. In solo queue, you will see her, and she's very tanky, and she's very hard to kill late game. So I'm going to put her in the A tier. A tier is strong. Now Singed. Unfortunately, Singed is not there yet. I'm putting him next to Master Yi. He's not there yet. The items, he needs a buff, honestly. He needs a buff. You might have seen since pentakills and stuff, but that doesn't mean doesn't mean anything because honestly speaking, he's not that strong in Baron Lane. He's not that strong. Now Sona is an A tier support. She can be played mid lane, okay? Not the preferred way though. Not the preferred way. But uh what's it called? But she's really good. She's really good. She will keep your team alive. She will keep your team alive. And you know who's else is similar to that? Soraka. Although Soraka's play rate is very low, okay, you don't see a lot of Soraka players, but a good, sorry, not a good, a really good Soraka player, you will not be able to kill her team. You will not be able to kill her team. If you go against top 10 in the leaderboard Sorakas, they will carry the team. They will feed their ADC. Their ADC will be fed, and they will just and they won't die because she heals them, and her ultimate makes the whole team unstoppable. Makes the whole team unstoppable. Although, in my honest opinion, she needs a minor buff. The problem with Soraka is this type of champion. If you do a tiny wrong mistake in buffing her, if you buff her wrong, she becomes a broken champion. She becomes a broken champion. And yo, guys, she got the Stargazer skin, which by the way looks amazing on her. Amazing. Now Teemo. Teemo. The thing with Teemo, even if he fed late game, he will still his mushrooms can outplay your team. So I'm putting him in the B tier. He's really annoying. He's really annoying. Trintamir jungling is really strong, but I'm putting him C tier to be honest. Still needs it. Still needs it. He's not there yet. In the low tier he's OP. But platinum and above, yeah, he's very weak apparently. Very weak. Unless, for example, if you go Tryndamere, the enemy goes Akali, you have no chance of winning. No chance. No chance. Or if they go Vayne, for example, no chance. They will harass you. You can beat Darius if you're Tryndamere. You can beat perhaps Fiora if you're Tryndamere. But I don't see him. I don't see him that useful. Now, Twisted Fate is an A tier mid laner. He's really good. The thing with Twisted Fate, you need a team, okay? He basically is a balanced champion. He controls the field. Think of him as Oriana, but he will be everywhere. His ult makes him gank everywhere. Now he's weaker in damage than Oriana for sure. He doesn't melt, but he harasses, he pokes, and his stun is really strong. If you can time it perfectly, and if your position is really good. Now he needs a really good positioning, because if you're out of position, he dies really quickly. So there's that. Now Varus. I've seen AP Varus, AD Varus is really strong and stuff, but for me, he's a B tier. For me, I don't see him. Now, guess who's an A tier? Vayne. Vayne late game. Oh my god, guys. Vayne late game. Good luck catching her. If she's fed, you will no way unless you crowd control her and all of you guys focus on her. You will be doing a wrong. You'll be doing a horrible mistake of just leaving her there. She will feed on your team. She will eat you. And remember how I said Draven does a lot of damage to tanks? Well, guess what? Draven early game, Vayne will melt tanks late game. Melts them. Now, Vi or Vi. She's. I wouldn't say S tier. I put her A tier. Her knock up can reach you from. You cannot escape it if she's targeted on you, even if you flash and stuff, you cannot escape it. And remember how I said knockups are the best form of ground control. There you go. Now, I think this guy's name Zinzao. Did I say it right? Zinzao. Honestly, I've seen him a lot in competitive, but from my opinion, uh, from my opinion, he's a B tier. Don't hate me, guys. From my opinion, basically, guys, this is from what I've seen, but from what I've experienced in my games, from the competitive scene. Basically, my opinion. You might have a different opinion. That's for sure. Everyone has their own opinion. Now, Yasuo, season 0, he was an S tier. Now, he's a B tier. B tier. B tier. First of all, Yasuo needs a good composition. Needs a really good composition. And with the current meta, Katrina, Diana, he's honestly not that strong. He's honestly not that strong. Now, moving on. Ziggs is an S tier champion mid lane. You see him in competitive everywhere. He's everywhere. Everywhere. So he's really good in team fights. Really good. He might not be that good in laning wise. He can harass, okay. He can poke, but he's really strong in team fights. Now Zed. Now Zed is stronger than Yasuo currently in the meta, okay. But the Zonia, and the problem with Zed is he can snowball easily in the early game, but the late game he falls really hard once they all Zonia. So unfortunately, I'll put him B tier. But remember, guys, he is stronger than Yasuo. Should I move him? Because a good Z doesn't die. He's a good distraction. I'll put him because he's a distraction. You cannot catch him. I'll put him in A tier, mid lane. Put him A tier. Now, unfortunately, guys, this place didn't give me the champions that I wanted. So, tell me if I'm wrong. The missing champions are Ramos, okay? Let's remember. Ramos, which he came recently, but I didn't get the chance to play him or play with him or play against him. I didn't get the chance of it. But I'm pretty sure I don't see him in S tier. I don't see him as Evelyn. I don't see him as Lee Sin. Maybe A tier. It's between B or A tier because of his mobility. But Katrina, guys, okay, Thresh will always be S tier, by the way, support. From now on, before he comes, Thresh will be S tier. But, guys, I want you to know, Katrina is S tier champion. S tier Katrina, everyone knows it. You shouldn't even hear me out. Katrina is the S tier. There is Galio. Uh, Galio is really strong against Katrina in the laning against AP, even though he got nerfed. He was broken in mid lane. He's not that strong in Baron lane. He's not that strong. His strongest is mid lane. Mid lane, especially team fight capability. But I don't have them. I don't have the icons, unfortunately. That's on my part. But guys, so Xayah, her ultimate counters a lot of champions, which makes her an A tier champion. She controls the field. Okay, so Xayah is A tier champion. Katrina is an S tier champion. Diana is an A tier champion, although she got buffed a lot. You just don't see her as much. You don't see her as much. So she's an A tier champion. Galio is an A tier mid champion. Okay. Ramos, we can put him so far in the B to A tier. Okay, between them. If there's a category between them. Who else? Did I miss anyone? Did I miss anyone? I don't think so. Although this is for Wild Rift list. This is Wild Rift list for, like, see? Wild Rift tier list. But unfortunately, it doesn't have all of them. So we learn from that. But this is the tier list, guys. This is my first time. Please give me suggestion, feedback in the comment section on how to improve it if there's any way. But I think for a first time we didn't do bad. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something from this. Share with me your opinion. Who do you think is an S tier? Who do you think an A, B tier, C tier, or no tier? Like they're horrible. Okay, we can always debate about this. I will always listen to your and consider your opinions. I hope you consider my opinions too. But yeah, guys. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode or like the next video. Anyways, peace out.